regular meeting of the Roswell City Council to order. Please call the roll.
Councilor Best? Here. Councilor Henderson?
Here.
Councilor Moore? Here. Councilor Foster?
Here.
Councilor Sanchez is absent. Councilor Oropesa?
Here.
Councilor Robeck?
Here.
Councilor Grant is absent. Councilor Stubbs is absent. Councilor Peterson?
Here.
Mayor Kintine?
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilor Best and invocation by Councilor Roebuck. Councilor Best.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, we come before you today. We ask for your wisdom, we ask for your guidance, and we ask for your blessing on the town of Roswell. Please, as we consider the matters before the council today, may we look at them with open hearts and open minds, with graciousness and with due consideration. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Councilor Oropesa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to make a motion to approve the agenda for the May 10, 2018 City Council meeting to include the following: to renumber item 36 to number 22A and move as the first item under regular items. To remove item 14 from the consent agenda and place under regular items as item 22B. To remove item 35 totally from the agenda. To move item 32 after item 30. And all other items to keep the same numbering and approving the remaining of the agenda as presented. Second.
Okay, I got a second by Councilor Henderson. Let's just take, I have a motion by Councilor Oropesa, a second by Councilor Eric. What's that?
Mr. Mayor, if you would ask Councilor Henderson to please push the second motion on your vote box.
Oh, yes, we're trying to use the vote box tonight, councilors, first time. So let's see if we can get these to work. Let me, councilors, before we vote, and I have to explain, we've had item number 14 was pulled off of consent. That will be explained at a later time. Item 36 deals with the Main Street professional service agreement. That would be the last regular item. Yet we have the folks from Main Street doing a presentation at the beginning. We felt it would be unfair to them to have them stay for the entire evening, although it is a lot of fun. They're laughing. All right, so we wanted to move that up. And I apologize, councilors, I should have caught this very early, and I failed to do that. This is my failure. Items 30 and 32 are in fact linked. They are companion, if you will, matters. Rather than separate them with item 31, we're doing them together. And item 35 does not need to be dealt with, as it is part of the budget that we will be acting on the 24th. These are cleanups that candidly I should have caught earlier and did not do so. So if there's any questions on this, we will be happy to entertain them. Otherwise, we will go with a voice vote for the agenda as presented by Councilor Oropesa with the changes he noted in his verbal motion. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. And, oh yes, we're using our vote boxes. All right, and just turn out. Awesome. Approved. All right. At this point, I will also ask everyone to please silence their cell phones. You'll notice I'm striving to do the same with mine, and I'm successful. First up for tonight's agenda is Item number 2, Main Street, Roswell. Come on down.
I brought printed just in
Okay,
case.
make sure it's turned on, it has to be green.
I brought a printed agenda or printed tree just in case because I don't know when the technology's going to fail. Thank you so much for having me come tonight. I'm going to be sharing our annual report regarding the fulfillment of our scope of services.
And you are?
I'm Kathy Lay with Main Street, Roswell. Sorry, I thought you introduced me.
No, I didn't. Don't go ahead.
Kathy Lay, I'm the Executive Director at Main Street, Roswell. We have a memorandum of understanding with the city that is a 2-year memorandum that was approved last year, so it's not quite time yet, but we do have our scope of services agreement that is an annual agreement. In this, it states a lot of things that they want us to provide for the help financially and the partnership that the city gives to the Main Street program. These are just a tip of the iceberg of some of the things that we have done in the past year. There's no way I could tell you everything in 5 minutes. Some of our work is to build strong relationships with our stakeholders, which are the downtown business and building owners. We've held monthly meetings. We've had 12 stakeholders meetings where we give them information about promotion opportunities. We do surveys. We do training materials. We provide grant information. We help them fill out grant information. We also created a stakeholders Facebook page where they can share and receive information on that. We also do the same thing, promoting information about our district, opportunities that are available, webinars that they can go about their business improvement, development, things like that. I also visit our businesses regularly. I make phone calls to our businesses. I provide emails and contact them directly. We do mailings and invites for some of these meetings. So we really are trying to build a strong network of a downtown family. We also held a free marketing workshop with Paul First. He is a marketing expert and specialist. We brought him down. Typically, it's $3,000 to attend one of those workshops for the weekend. We brought him down for a full day. He did also provide a one-on-one marketing analysis to any of the businesses that wanted to do that. So he would set up a time while he was in the city of Roswell and meet with them. That is typically $3,000 per business. We provided this free to our business with the help of Bullock's Jewelry, who helped fund it, and Main Street Roswell. We've also helped them to fill businesses downtown to apply for grants for design assistance, for facade improvements. We did get 3 that were approved, which is a $10,000 value. We also helped them apply for actual financial grants with matching funds for the businesses for facade improvements. We got $10,000 for our businesses for that. We've been working together with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the Roswell Chamber of Commerce, the Roswell, Chavez County, EDC. So those are all some of our partners, in addition to others. We've built networks with them and are working on projects together with them. We received 4 as an affiliated Main Street program, which is what we were in 2017. We received 4 service requests from the state, New Mexico Main Street, where they can send down specialists in a certain area to provide a service. We used 2 of those to apply for a marketing analysis and a district marketing plan. Those are documents that we can use as the guiding and steering documents to help us develop our downtown district and to understand what the needs are for our district. Those would have cost us $8,000 to have done. That we were able to do free with New Mexico Main Street service requests. We also utilize the New Mexico Main Street training and support services to bring down people to do training workshops in our district, to help train me and our board, and to provide guidance for us. That comes to a $33,000 value as well. They actually give us a statement of what the value is of all the services they provided. Some of the other things that we've been working on is leveraging promotion. We do things like the First Friday Downtown Market. That is a retail event. We've done 12 of those. That also, we've done parades, we've done community planting, cleanup day, the Chili Cheese Festival. Those things are all ways that we can also leverage promotion dollars for the district and for our community. By that I mean, I've done 65 live radio interviews that did not cost us money to do them because we were providing this public service information to the community. So they let me come on and do radio talk interviews. With that, I figured out how much time I have done those with those 65 interviews. If we had paid for radio spots, that would have been $8,280 worth of advertising for our district and our downtown. The media coverage, we've had 23 newspaper articles that have been written about our events. Again, if we had to pay for advertising in the paper, I don't know how much it would cost. I tried to find out, but some of those things are half page. I mean, they're huge. We also have had 6 local TV interviews just regarding those events there. Not the UFO Festival, this is just the other events. Again, if we were on television and buying TV spots, that kind of promotion costs a lot of money. We were able to get it because we're a nonprofit doing something for our community, so they let us come on to TV and radio and do newspaper articles about it. We're doing cross-promotion downtown as well. UFO Museum is doing a sticker program where the little sticker they give you that you get when you go into the museum, they're working with our downtown businesses to provide a discount if people come in wearing that sticker. That gets them to go from the UFO Museum into some of the downtown businesses where they can get do a little shopping. The UFO Museum has a list of all the businesses that offer discounts. The UFO Museum is printing posters to put in those businesses' window so that it says, come in here with your UFO sticker, with a big picture of the sticker, we'll give you a discount. That is the way that they're beginning to network together and build that kind of family feel of we're going to help each other. We have one of our businesses that built a rat card so people can put their business cards from other businesses in his rat card right by his front door. And he has a place for flyers that people can put flyers about what they're doing in their businesses and sales and things so that he can drive businesses to other stores or shoppers to other businesses while they're there. So we're starting to try to work on this cross-promotion idea, and our businesses are jumping on board and helping with that. We also have the UFO Festival success and the media impact. We estimate 38,000 visitors came from all over the world to the UFO Festival. We have 4 TV shows that were filmed here that I'm personally aware of. 3 were from the Travel Channel, 1 was from the Food Network. I was able to find the ratings from 2 of them. 2 of the Travel Channel shows actually listed how many viewers watched it. We had 9.7 million viewers watch those 2 shows about the UFO Festival in Roswell. You want to buy a commercial advertisement on TV that reaches 9.7 million viewers, you're going to have to pay huge dollars. That was provided because of our UFO Festival. We had 30 printed articles that have been in major media since 2017, and I think I've mentioned before things like Huffington Post, New York Times, Smithsonian, National Geographic. Some of those have printed articles about the UFO Festival. The 20 live national interviews that we did during the UFO Festival this year, we started at 5 a.m., remember Mr. Mayor? 5 a.m. until 8 o'clock in the morning. Every 10 minutes we were doing another live interview. We're going to California next, or we're going here next, we're going there next. And we were doing a little interview about the UFO Festival in Roswell. We did 20 live international or national interviews from New York to California during that morning. We had the merchants report that they had the best sales in the history of their business this last UFO Festival. We also sold out lodging in the city of Roswell. We think that made a huge impact financially and promotion-wise. We did a holiday lighting project this last holiday season. We obtained sponsorship from Excel. So grateful to our partner who did this. They bought 5 miles long of LED lights that we were able to wrap around our downtown trees. They valued that whenever they bought them, $12,000 to buy that many lights. They also gave us an additional $12,000 to pay to have the trees professionally wrapped and to have the lights taken down after the holidays. We also got our volunteers out there to decorate the poles with the Santa hats and the big bows for our AMI poles. And that placemaking project encouraged increased foot traffic for the holidays, as well as a real quality of life for people that are coming through our town, how they view it and how our people view our area. Something else that we've been actively involved in downtown is helping promote new businesses and encouraging people, letting them know about available properties. We've had 7 new businesses that have opened in the past year that have brought 25 new jobs to our district. We have 4 more that will be opening soon. That means additional jobs. I won't read them all off. You guys can read. We've also purchased additional alien items for the street lights downtown. We bought Santa hats, Main Street Roswell, ribbons, bows, decorated those poles. We bought 24 new flagpoles for the American flags that we put up during special times of the year, 4th of July parades and such. We also did the downtown flowers, that we planted flowers in 27 planters. That was hundreds of dollars worth of flowers that we put downtown, in addition to the people that spent their time going out and doing it. We've increased our board. We have 9 voting board members now. We have 3 ex officio board members. We have been very conscious of people we are bringing on board, that they have an economic impact, an economic revitalization skill set. So we actually have City of Roswell is represented as ex officio. We have the Council of Governments represented. We have Candace from the Chamber of Commerce. Christine Ann from the Hispanic Chamber is actually on our voting board. We also send out invites to others to come regularly. Thanks to the hard work of our board, because it's not it's not just sitting and voting on things, people. These are working board members. You can see they're out there working their tails off for our downtown district. Because of that, we achieved accreditation this year. We're no longer an affiliate, we're actually an accredited Main Street program. That means we get 8 annual service requests from the state instead of 4, doubles the value of what we can bring to our district. That is huge. We also believe that the backbone and the most important thing we bring to the city is our volunteers. I have tracked hours that I've been able to track, 3,926 hours in the last year. If you calculate those hours, it's called the independent sector wage value for volunteer time. I did it for the state of New Mexico, which is specific to our state. The value of the volunteer hours is $80,797.08. That is huge value. If you calculate how much Main Street has brought back to the district for your investment, I think it's worthwhile. We are so grateful that you are a partner with the Main Street program and that you make it possible for us to do things for our community and for our district. Thank you.
Question? Thank you. Councilors, any questions? I have Councilor Best. Go ahead, Councilor.
I'd like to thank you guys for re-ramping this and getting it going again. Who is watering the flowers?
We have Tubosa that comes twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays, but we also recruit our businesses that are near the planters to take responsibility for watering those. We just had them planted April 21st. Several of the businesses forgot, so they looked really sad. So they put out a huge call, water, water, please water, and I called Tubosa and make sure that they're getting them 2 jugs every day that they come. So that is just kind of, it's super hot right now, it's extremely dry.
The park across on 2nd Street,
Yes.
that belongs to the UFO Museum?
Yes, the little park, yes it does.
Brand new park?
Yes, it
And
does.
I'd like to make one comment. Next year when we do the lights,
Yes.
if we wouldn't string the electrical cords across from tree to tree to tree, find a way that they're hidden, because it makes...
I know, that is so hard. There's no, the biggest challenge we have is there are no plugs anywhere except the light poles. And we had planned to go across to the building, across the top of the building and then out to the train. And some of that is, they're going on which is the shortest path.
Exactly. Maybe you guys can investigate a way to get J&G or Excel or somebody to come in and put in extra ones by each tree.
Oh, the light poles, that would have to be buried in the sidewalk. And we're not allowed to string them on the ground. We checked on that. So we're going to plug them, bring down the poles and go across, and then up the trees. We're not allowed to put any wires on the ground. It has to be overhead.
Well, I would like to thank you very much for all of your hard work. You guys are absolutely wonderful, and you can see it when you drive down the road.
I think my board and my workers and my volunteer are phenomenal. I'm very proud to work with them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I have Councilor Henderson. Councilor Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. Kathy and your board, we were pleased with the progress that you're making, and congratulations on your accreditation. It's nice to have that back in place. And this was a great report this evening, so keep up the good work. I have one question. I'm not sure that you're responsible for this, but several years ago, Main Street did a study or a strategic plan.
Yes.
One of the things on the list was wayfinding signs. So can you tell me anything about that, or maybe I need to be talking?
Well, I was going to say, I do know that they have they're moving forward with the wayfinding plan with the city of Roswell. From what I understand, that they are utilizing some of the funding from the sale of the Fisk building, and that they are also trying to allocate funding, and that is something that is supposed to be coming up shortly. I've actually sent emails back and forth between Bill Morris and myself, trying to find other ideas of things we can do to bring in grants or other things to help make that happen. But from what I understand, it's on the road to being finished or being done.
Well, I would hope that the city would welcome Main Street's input on those signs and the copy that goes on the signs. Communities that have that benefit, certainly I think their tourists appreciate that information, and it's certainly easier to get around.
Absolutely. In fact, at the tourism talk this morning that Tony DeJeans and Allison Gray were at, we were discussing wayfinding, and the plan that is in the wayfinding for the city, Main Street loves it. They think it's phenomenal. Although we'd like it to be something like, though she was saying brown, we'd rather have a little bit better color, but we love the wayfinding. We're really excited about what the city has planned.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you so much.
Okay, councilors, anyone else? Councilor Orpesa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I echo the comments of the previous ones that have commented already. But my question is, several years ago, Main Street, Roswell, I remember that they were working on the east side from 2nd to east on 2nd to try and better that part of the community.
You mean like Richardson, or I mean you're talking about the railroad district?
Yes.
Yes.
Are those still in plan?
Absolutely. We still have, in fact, I just was talking with someone who's invested in property there that might be interested in getting design assistance from New Mexico Main Street to come down and help with the design for a business that they're wanting to put in. I have been visiting with, now it's a little out of our district, but it's close. Bone Springs Art Place, which is like just the next street over, but they also impact our district. I sent information about a grant. Unfortunately, I was out of the city the whole time, but they recently have applied for an art place grant for the railroad district. Don't know if we'll get it or not, but I brought that to Jonette. Jonette sent it over to Cameron Brooks. Cameron Brooks was able to pull together several meetings when I was out of the city, out of national training. They actually got it put together and they got that grant applied for. I was amazed. It was put together so wonderfully. They did a lot of community meetings. Some of our board members were able to attend those when Julian Halverson. And with that grant, that's like $1 million grant. And then they're also going to be, Carol's going to be utilizing when I sent her another grant information. I asked, can we pull some of that stuff out and apply for this grant too that's coming up in August? And again, it would be for the railroad district. She said we can use some of the same information, statistics, some of the same wording, pull it out, put it in, and apply for this other grant as well. It's another art place making grant that would be in that district. So we're working on it.
Do you have, because I saw some sketches and drawings and whatever for that part of it that was done by UNM students. And it was done through a grant as well. And do those drawings still exist?
But I believe that was just recently, is that correct? It was just this.
No, it was
been a while back.
Been like maybe when Councilor Dusty Huckabee was in.
I see. I don't know about those particular drawings unless they're incorporated into some of the plan, the railroad district.
Your board president has some.
Oh, Molly knows. Oh, yay. This is Molly Boyles. She's our board president.
Good evening. I believe what you might be asking about is some of the work that was done over in Chihuahuita.
No, this is right.
Okay.
Right off of right on 2nd Street, right off of Richardson.
Okay. Okay. So I apologize. I thought that maybe you were asking about that work that was done probably about 10 years ago over in Chihuahuita, where they were trying to refurbish a building that was starting to deteriorate. It was an old stucco building. So I apologize for interrupting. I was hoping to answer questions, but
it's okay.
I appreciate that.
I apologize.
With the railroad district, there is a railroad district plan that is in the city plan that Main Street has absolutely is all go for it. There were some recent students that came down that were from, wasn't it? Were you here? Texas. Wasn't it Texas Tech? Yes. And they had renderings for the railroad district. Now, I'm going to toot this one. One of my favorite that I've seen is for Silverdome Plaza that's been developed by Bill Morris. I love the Silverdome Plaza idea he has for developing the area next to the Silverdome into a park and stuff. That's a really cool plan. So we like that one a lot too.
Thank you.
Anyone else, council? I will also echo, and in a very serious note, Ms. Lay, Ms. Boyles, you rescued Main Street Roswell. Let's be candid here. There were some serious issues, and this team you put together has done an incredible job. Candidly, a few years ago, I was pessimistic as to the future of Main Street. You proved me wrong. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
May I make one more statement?
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we don't do that at council meetings.
I'd love to thank the city of Roswell for being such a good partner. I feel like that they have gotten behind us and supported us and helped us, and I'm very grateful.
Okay, thank you. No, we don't do demonstrations. And let me explain, and I should have done this, and pardon me, council, I'll do this. Council meetings are sometimes intense. You have elected representatives with strongly felt opinions. They are striving to do the best, and sometimes there are different opinions as to what is best. These are not, does not mean there's anyone wrong here or bad. It just means that they have different perspectives. To ensure decorum, I will ask that all of us conduct ourselves in a very proper manner. We don't do public displays of emotion, either in support or in opposition, because the positions that are articulated here by the community members or the councilors are sincere and heartfelt. There are no bad people here. Trust me, if you know what I did for a living, you know there's a difference. So for that slight lecture, and I apologize for that digression, let me also take note, and I have been brought to my attention that we have some special visitors from El Capitan Elementary School. The student council members, such as the president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, if you're in the audience, please stand. Anybody from El Capitan Elementary? Awesome. Let's give them a hand. Awesome. Young people. Don't sit down yet. This is representative democracy in action. Good and bad. No, we don't use the word bad. Excuse me. Good and ugly. Ms. Gilbert.
Good evening. I don't know if there's a policy on clapping for this presentation, so maybe we'll just hold it till the end. Good evening, Mayor, councilors. Each year, the New Mexico Recreation and Parks Association awards Parks and Recreation departments throughout the state of New Mexico for outstanding achievements, recognizing program quality, volunteerism, and service. The Roswell Parks and Recreation Department currently leads the state in awards for outstanding excellence. Our community thrives due to these passionate, dedicated, skilled staff, volunteers, and community members. Their mission of service within the community allows us to provide enhanced leisure areas and programs that grow the quality of life for all of Roswell citizens. As I read the awards, I would ask each awardee who is present to come up and receive their award and stand in front of the dais here so that we can take a photo. We'd also like to take a photo after all the awards have been given, a group photo, so hang around until we can get that done. There are 3 types of citations that are awarded to each community annually to recognize a person, organization, and vendor who has made an outstanding contribution to the recreation and parks movement for the previous year. The individual citation is awarded to Valley View PE coach, Mr. Steve Nunez. He is a dedicated individual to youth and the promotion of activities that get children up and active. As a physical education teacher, he has been instrumental in assisting the Recreation Division with Roswell's largest youth track and field meet, the Roswell Games. He serves as the liaison between the school district and the city, helping to ensure that all area public schools are involved. In addition, for several years, he has overseen a jump rope for heart activity, where local children raise funds for heart awareness. Congratulations to Steve Nunez.
I'll move out of the way so I don't break the camera.
You want to do here?
No.
Okay.
Gosh, no, I'll be enough. Okay.
You're prettier now. All right.
The commercial citation is awarded to Peter Piper Pizza, who has assisted the Recreation Division with projects and donated products to multiple activities, including the Vacation Fund Program and Youth Basketball Program, among others. Mr. Daniel Cedillo's extensive business support and commitment to the Roswell community reflects the positive self-image that Recreation and Parks Departments nationwide work to instill through their efforts. Congratulations to Peter Piper Pizza, and we have Joseph here to accept the award. The group citation is awarded to the Chavez County Search and Rescue Team, Pecos Valley Amateur Radio Club, and New Mexico Mountain Patrol for their sponsorship and presence at several regional events held throughout the state. These groups are a necessary part of our activities to ensure a safe environment for all who attend. Because of their specific expertise, the division can rely on them to communicate with emergency personnel in the event of an accident or to be a communication link to other agencies. But most importantly, these groups support the division's races held throughout the year. Congratulations to the New Mexico Mountain Patrol, Pecos Valley Amateur Radio Club, and Chavez County Search and Rescue Team.
Come on down, all you guys. If you're here and you're part of these groups, come on down to the
Get together though, like you like each other.
See you Saturday.
The Kudos Award for Audiovisual Media is awarded to the Roswell Search Channel Club's Mike Satterfield's Fireworks Extravaganza. This event also received the Kudos Award Honorable Mention for Print Media. This award recognizes efforts that have significantly contributed to the public's increased awareness and recognition of public parks, recreation, conservation agency, and leisure service programs. This annual event is an opportunity for families to come enjoy free entertainment, including an amazing fireworks display, courtesy of our lovely fire department. So congratulations to the Roswell Search Channel Club's Mike Satterfield's Fireworks Extravaganza. We have
anybody here?
The spring event of the year is awarded to the Roswell Races Series, managed by the Recreation Division, Sarah Hall. This award recognizes an outstanding sporting event conducted by Park Recreation Conservation Agency, public or private nonprofit agency or organization. The Recreation Division recently took over the coordination of these fitness runs that are offered throughout the year. Goals of the program are to provide the opportunity for lifetime fitness while spreading the message of the importance of an active lifestyle. Congratulations to the Roswell Races Series and Sarah Hall.
Another keeper?
Thanks, boss.
I could get in there, but it's too much to do. It's like a lot to manage.
Remember, Sarah,
Yes, sir.
The special event of the year is awarded to the 2017 Cinco de Mayo Festival. Of course, we just got done with the 2018 festival, which was managed last year by the Recreation Division with support from the Roswell Chamber of Commerce and the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. This award recognizes an outstanding special event conducted by a Park Recreation Conservation Agency, public or private nonprofit agency or organization. This event brought the entire family together for 2 days of culture, music, sporting events, cuisine, venue booths, arts, and loads of fun. Congratulations to the 2017 Cinco de Mayo Festival.
All right, come on down, folks.
The Facility Design Award under $2.5 million is awarded to the Burt Murphy Family Splash Pad managed by project manager Kevin Dillon. This award recognizes an outstanding completed park, trail, bike path, open space preserve, or sports complex project that displays one or all of the following: innovation, functionalism, aesthetics, community benefits, environmental stewardship, and maintenance. This project, funded through city funds, capital outlay, state funds, and a generous private donation from the Murphy family, without which the project could not have been completed, has made a positive impact on the youth of Roswell. Congratulations to the Burt Murphy Family Splash Pad. We also have some Murphy family members here to accept the award as well.
This one I'll come down for. All these people. I'm going to say this, the Murphy family was incredibly generous. This is a huge deal and will help children in one of the most underserved portions of our community. Thank you, Murphy family.
Thank you.
The Youth Program of the Year is awarded to the Father-Daughter Dance managed by the Recreation Division's Lynn Sanchez and Vicki Stringer. This award recognizes an outstanding youth program conducted by a park, recreation, conservation agency, public or private nonprofit agency or organization. The Father-Daughter Dance is in its second year, and the community has embraced this event. In 2017, we had 75 attend, which grew to over 250 in 2018. Fathers and daughters came out and truly enjoyed the experience. Requests poured in as to when the next one would be. Congratulations to Recreation Division and the Father-Daughter Dance. The Volunteer of the Year is awarded to Faye Stokes of the Roswell Tennis Association. This award recognizes a person whose contributions of volunteer service over a period of time have improved the quality and quantity of leisure opportunities through parks, recreation, and leisure service programs and projects in neighborhoods, communities, or the state. Faye Stokes has dedicated her life to tennis, helping to grow and promote the sport of tennis to new levels within the Roswell area. She has also been an advocate for fitness for many years and encourages youth and adults to lead a healthy and fit lifestyle. Congratulations to Faye Stokes.
Ms. Stokes, I've just been informed by Councilor Best that you flunked her in PE. Twice.
The Senior Services Program of the Year is awarded to the Roswell Adult and Recreation Center's Lifelong Scholars Program managed by Sarah Hall. This award recognizes an outstanding senior services program conducted by a park, recreation, and conservation agency, public or private, nonprofit, or organization. The Roswell Adult and Recreation Center has a history of providing activities for not only senior citizens, but people of all ages. It is our goal to expose citizens to different types of art, music, crafts, literature, language, and fitness opportunities. Congratulations to the Roswell Adult Center and Sarah Hall. The Parks and Ground Maintenance Program of the Year is awarded to the City of Roswell Parks Division, managed by Jim Burris, Director of Parks and Recreation, and Rudy Chavez, Parks Superintendent. This award recognizes the outstanding maintenance of parks, entryways, athletic fields, medians, or trails. The Parks Division takes great pride in the aesthetic beauty of its parks and leads the state as the longest-running tree city, USA. The division manages 27 parks consisting of 627 acres and 11.2 miles of recreational trails. They are also responsible for the grounds at various city properties, including City Hall, the Museum and Art Center, the Public Library, our Adult and Recreation Center, soon to be the new Convention and Civic Center, and congratulations to the Parks Division. Wrong slide. The elected official Commissioner of the Year is awarded to Travis County Commissioner Will Cabin. This award recognizes an elected official who has gone above and beyond in their support of our services and who has made an outstanding recent contribution to parks, recreation, natural resources, aquatics, or therapeutic recreation in New Mexico. Commissioner Cabin has a long history of community support and advocacy for parks and recreation at the state level. He is a retired PE teacher with the RISD, where he assisted the Parks and Recreation Department with the Roswell Games. He sets a high standard for excellence and is an icon for leadership amongst his peers. Congratulations to Travis County Commissioner Will Cabin.
Mr. Mayor, can I say just a few words?
You're a politician.
Very few. It's an honor to receive this award, but it's an even bigger honor to have been able to serve with Park and Recreation staff over the last 30 years. These guys are first class. They are amazing, and the city of Roswell should be extremely proud to have them running the Park and Recreation department. Thank you, guys.
The elected official Mayor of the Year is awarded to Mayor Dennis Kintai. This award recognizes an elected official who has gone above and beyond in their support of our services and who has made an outstanding recent contribution. Mayor Kintai is an active participant of the Roswell Races series and wants to make Roswell a great city with an outstanding quality of life. Mayor Kintai has been a driving force behind Roswell's new recreation and aquatic facility, which is scheduled to open in the coming year. Congratulations to Mayor Kintai.
Saturday morning.
Saturday, be there.
All right.
That was the last word, so if we could ask all the awardees to kind of come up and gather and we can take a group photo.
Come on.
Yes.
I guess so. Why not? One more thing.
These four kids right here? Yeah, okay. We're going to need it to be real tight as these windows. So you're going to have to come forward. So you're taller. You're guys are
Councilors, we're through the easy part. Next item up, number 4, Councilor Pesa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to hold a public hearing and vote on the transfer of ownership of liquor license number 0025, doing business as North Main Shelf, located at 3001 North Main Street, Roswell.
I have a motion by Councilor Pace. Please use your electronic voting machine. Thank you, sir. And a second by Councilor Best to hold a public hearing and vote on liquor license 0025. Mr. Holloman, you want to explain first off your role tonight and what this is?
I will. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. This is a public hearing. At this point, this body is acting as a quasi-judicial body. Your function is to weigh the evidence that is presented before you during the hearing, and then to render an opinion and make your vote known based on the facts that are presented before you. During this process, it's important that you adhere to any procedure that ensures that there is an impartial decision rendered, and know that in many cases the decisions that are rendered are subject to appeal either to an administrative body, as in the case of the liquor licenses, or district court, as in the case of many other situations. In these hearings, city staff acts as advocates on behalf of a particular position, not as advisors as you may be accustomed to. First one, we have, as to the liquor licenses, know that there are three factors that you are looking at. Number one is whether or not the proposed location is in an area that's prohibited by law. Number two, if it violates a city ordinance or city zoning code. And number three, if the particular instance of the issuance of the liquor license or the transfer in these two cases would be harmful to the public health, safety, or morals at issue. The first one that we have tonight is for a transfer of ownership. It's to include additional stockholders. This is for the location that's at 301 North Main. This is the North Main Shell Station.
It says 3001.
3001. That is accurate and should be used in your consideration. Because this is a situation where it's just a transfer of ownership, city staff reviewing it, it does not violate any of the ordinances or zoning codes. It does not violate an existing law. With that, I will leave it to you, Council.
Councilors, at this time, because this is a public hearing, I will call on the audience. Is there anyone here present that wishes to speak in opposition to this transfer of ownership liquor license transfer? Anyone in opposition? Let the record reflect no one indicated they wish to speak in opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in support of this transfer of liquor license? Anyone wishing to speak? Let the record reflect no one indicated they wish to speak in support of this. Finally, anyone wishing to speak on this matter at all? Let the record reflect no one has chosen to speak on this matter. Councilors, I will turn to you. Anyone wishing to comment or speak on this issue? As I see none, I will call for a roll call vote. This requires a majority of the governing body, which just a majority of those present voting? Okay, fair enough. Thank you. I apologize, councilors, for my misstatement. A majority of those present voting, I will ask you to use your voting machine or box, at this time. All those in favor of the proposed liquor license transfer, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye. Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, this is a roll call vote.
I thought I asked you that. You said no.
No, you said a roll call vote, but it's the majority of the quorum present.
I'm so sorry, councilors. I apologize. Ms. Call will call the roll. All right.
Councilor Best? Yes. Councilor Henderson?
Yes.
Councilor Moore? Yes. Councilor Foster?
Yes.
Councilor Oropesa?
Yes.
Councilor Robeck?
Yes.
Councilor Peterson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And I'm afraid the award has gone to my head and distracted me.
Mr. Mayor and councilors may ask you to please go back and press your buttons for us so we have it recorded in the voting system.
Yes, if you have not done so, Councilor Peterson, Councilor Peterson is the only one. Is it not working for you?
Sometimes you have to push this really hard.
No, it's not lit up.
It's not lit up.
It's not lit up. Oh, great.
I'll check. Okay, we'll do that. We'll go ahead and do
his from here. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. And the vote is?
7-0.
7-0. Okay, thank you. Next up is item number 5, Councilor Ortega.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to hold a public hearing and vote on a transfer of ownership of liquor license number 0452, doing business as Chevron Food Mart Self-Serve number 3, located at 917 North Main Street in Roswell.
I have a motion by Councilor Ortega and a second by Councilor Henderson to approve the liquor license transfer as stated. Mr. Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Again, this is the same situation. This is a transfer of ownership to include new stockholders. This is a different location, however. This is the one at 917 North Main Street. It's the Chevron station right out here. You are tasked to approve or reject. You approve unless you find that there is a violation of the law, a violation of the zoning or ordinances, or if the issuance of this particular transfer would result in injury to the public health, safety, and welfare of the city. With that, any questions? And to you.
I will go to the audience again in this situation. Anyone here wishing to speak in opposition to this liquor license transfer associated with the transfer of ownership? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Let the record reflect no one chose to speak in opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in support of this liquor license transfer based upon change of ownership? Speak in support. Let the record reflect no one indicated they wish to speak in support. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter in any way? Let the record reflect no one chose to speak on this matter. Councilors, I will turn to you. Any councilor wishing to comment or speak on this matter? Seeing none, I will get straight this time. We will have a roll call vote. When you are called, please activate your voting box. Ms. Call, please call the roll.
Councilor Best?
Yes.
Councilor Henderson?
Yes.
Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Councilor Foster?
Yes.
Councilor Orpesa?
Yes.
Councilor Robeck?
Yes.
Councilor
It shows you voted.
Peterson?
Yes, it's your turn to vote.
Yes. It indicates it's put. All right, and then,
Motion passes 7-0.
okay, thank you. All right, as indicated, we have amended the agenda. Next up, and ladies and gentlemen, items 6 through 21, items 6 through 21, with the exception of item 14 on the original printed agenda, have been approved as part of the adoption of the consent agenda and the minutes. We are now ready to act on item number 22A, which had originally been appearing as item 36. Councilor Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a resolution 1822 for condemnation.
Item was original item 36.
I apologize. Item 36?
Yes, sir.
The agreement with Main Street.
Okay. All right. I move to approve the professional services agreement between the City of Roswell and Main Street Roswell.
I have a motion by Councilor Henderson to approve the professional services agreement between the City of Roswell and Main Street Roswell, and a second by Councilor Moore. Councilor Mr. Morrison.
That order really did mess up for a little. As stated, this is a professional service agreement between Main Street and Main Street Roswell and the City of Roswell. It's a 2-year contract. The scope of services outlines those expectations that the city expects from Main Street, and those expectations are based on the national Main Street system, the so-called 4 points of organization, promotion, design, and economic vitality. The amount of the agreement is $40,000 annually. It requires that the city and the city and the EDC sit as liaisons on the Main Street Board, which I think has been very beneficial. Requires the development and maintenance of an annual work program. Emphasizes physical improvements over events, which has been an ongoing thing, very beneficial. And the Finance Committee recommended approval 4-0 at their May 3rd meeting. Stand for any questions.
All right, thank you. Councilors, I will make note that the $40,000 is a suggested amount. We will be acting on that in the budget when we vote on the budget. We're not voting on anything other than the professional service agreement at this time. Any questions or comments, councilors? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. A yes or I approves of the professional service agreement between the City of Roswell and Main Street Roswell, and no or nay rejects the agreement. Ms. Caller, are we ready? And I'll ask you to activate your voting box when you vote. Once again, I or yes approves the agreement, and no or nay rejects it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Are we functioning? We're having problems with Mr. Foster now. It was 7-0, I assume? Okay, thank you. Okay. Next up was originally item number 14. Again, Councilor Henderson. The original item 14 is now item 22B.
Thank you, Mayor. President, I move for the adoption of Resolution 1822, which is condemnation of properties.
I have a motion by Councilor Henderson and a second by Councilor Peterson to approve Resolution 1822. Councilor Orpesa, did you want to make a statement, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to be able to recluse from this vote because I have family members that appear on that list.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that very much, Councilor. Councilors, any other questions or comments regarding this Resolution 1822? Hearing none, we will do a voice vote. A yes or I approves Resolution 1822, a nay or no rejects it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. No. We have a nay from Councilor Peterson. So we have a vote of 5-1. This matter fails because it requires a majority of the governing body. So the condemnation resolution did not pass because it did not have a majority of the governing body. All right, moving on. Item number 22, as originally presented, is Resolution 18-20. Councilor Orpesa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move for adoption of Resolution 1820 to consider adoption of proposed Resolution 1820, which authorizes staff to submit a community development block grant application to the New Mexico Finance Authority. And this is referred to the Boys and Girls Club, will be the project presented in the application.
I have a motion by Councilor Orpesa. Please activate your voting box, sir. And a second by Councilor Peterson. Mr. Morris.
Thank you. Staff has been working diligently with the COG towards the preparation of the application for this year's CDBG grant. Following a couple of meetings, we had 3 meetings, March 27th and 2 of them on March 28th. And the Boys and Girls Club repairs came out on top of all the other listings. consistently. And so we are recommending the selection of the Boys and Girls Club for the funding application. The full amount would be for $750,000 plus $85,000, I'm sorry, and $75,000 for us, for a total of $825,000. That's the full. And there's a partial of $500,000. Infrastructure Committee recommended voted for 3-0 on their meeting on April 23rd. And we stand for any questions.
I have one individual who signed up to speak on this matter, councilors. I'd like for that individual this time, Mr. Conlon. You please come forward, state your name and address. Sir, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. My name is Tim Coughlin. I'm the CEO of Boys and Girls Club of Sierra Blanca, which is overseeing the Boys and Girls Club location here in Roswell as well as Ruidoso. So, first of all, I want to express our appreciation for the consideration of the Boys and Girls Club for this project. I also want to express our thanks to the city, the various staff. I can't even name everybody. As you know, we have been here for 7 months. There's been a change of leadership, a change of staff, change of programs, a complete change of the Boys and Girls Club. In those 7 months, Mayor, you said we're not going to use the word bad, we're not going to use the word ugly, we're going to use the word strained. There was a strained relationship between the Boys and Girls Club and the city of Roswell previously. Now it's going great. We appreciate everybody's support. A lot has happened in the last 7 months. We've signed a new lease with the city. We're on track. In fact, the project to change the pool into a community garden is moving forward as we speak. Roof repairs have been done to a portion of the building. We have done major cleaning inside the building. I believe there's been 4 roll-off dumpsters of just junk that was in that building. It's cleaned. Painting has taken place. We're painting some of it. There's more painting that's coming along. United Way has provided us with a brand new van. And the doors are always open. I want to let you know that anytime you want to come in, you want to see the building, you want to meet with our staff, you want to see our programs, you don't even really have to call. Just come by, stop in, we're open, we're completely transparent, anything we can do. Coming forward, I still have 1 minute and 14 seconds. Thank you for the timer. But we're in the middle of signing up for our summer program right now. One of the changes that the Boys and Girls Club of Sierra Blanca has been a summer food service sponsor since 2012. And we're bringing that program into the Boys and Girls Club location here in Roswell. We will be serving meals to any youth between the ages of 1 and 18 during the summer period. They can come in at lunchtime, get a free meal, and we're just so appreciative of everything that's happened. Like I said, the doors are open. Please come by at any time and see us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilors, any questions or comments on this matter? Councilor Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. Tim, we appreciate your leadership of the Boys and Girls Club, and keep up the good work. I was especially interested in naming the Boys and Girls Club for this grant. Over the last number of years, the city has sponsored at least 2 grant applications for the Boys and Girls Club. The building is in, as we know, poor repair, needing a lot of fix-up. So I would just ask Bill if you can name a few things offhand as to how we're going to spend this $750. And the other one is, I assume that we're going to plug in the $75,000 into this year's budget.
Some of the major repairs are going to include the roof repairs to the gymnasium portion. There's some structural repairs to the walls. Kevin is the expert on this one, but there's a lot of systems, electrical, bathroom repairs. There's a number of things, and whatever amount of money you got is probably still not enough to completely do it, but it goes a long, long ways towards that. And Mr. Mayor, if I can, just for the record, the agenda says this is going to be submitted to the New Mexico Finance Authority. Actually, it's submitted to DFA, the Department of Finance Administration, Local Government Division. That's corrected, and that's shown in the actual resolution. So
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments, Councilor? Mr. Carlin, let me add my thanks to you. You were sadly very accurate in your opening comments. Thank you for stepping up. Mr. Bahar.
Yes, Mayor. To complete the answers to Councilor Henderson, yes, we are programming the $75,000 in the budget for fiscal year 2019.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, we will have a voice vote on this. A yes or I approves resolution 1820, which is authorizing staff to submit a community development block grant. A no or nay rejects it. Councilors, we are not able to use our voting boxes now. We're having some malfunctions, so this will have to be clear to Ms. Call. So once again, all those in favor of this grant application in resolution 1820 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, we will consider this passed unanimously. Thank you. Next up is item number 23. Councilor Foster.
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion for the approval of resolution 1828, amending resolution 2366 to expand the items placed on the consent agenda for the city council meetings.
All right, I have a motion by Councilor Foster and a second by Councilor Best to approve resolution 1828. Mr. Holloway.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Resolution 1828 makes changes to the consent agenda resolution that was originally passed in 1997. That provided for 4 different items to be placed on the consent agenda. One is the minutes of previous meetings, the RIAC leases, the bids and RFP awards, and then the weed and condemnation resolutions. In 2014, this resolution was amended to include the lodger's tax funding requests. Given my time here, I've tried to make note of items that have been brought up during meetings and things that we might want to add into the consent agenda to make these non-controversial items something that we don't have to just go over as a matter of routine. That can make our meetings spend our time on things that require more substantive discussion. Out of legal, there were 3 items that were being proposed to be added to this, and at this point, I'll just point out that I didn't get the appropriate resolution put into your packet. The resolution that came out of legal struck item G and then added additional language to item F so that it read, I will get the actual wording on there. Extensions or renewals of existing contracts, leases, or agreements with no material changes in terms beyond regular price or rent increases. So if we make the motion and vote, if you will choose to adopt that version, I would make the motion on the version that came out of the legal committee. To address a couple of those issues that we presented here, the ideas for the first one is extensions or renewals of existing contracts. We have a lot, because of the way that the rules are for unconstitutional debt or binding counsels, a lot of our leases and agreements are structured so that it is a 1-year agreement with options for 1-year additional renewals for a total of 5 terms. If it is an item that is going to be renewed according to that kind of language, that would be something that might be placed on the consent agenda. The second 2 are items that are in current policy, and we are asking to use this amendment in order to address those 2 items that are in current policy. One is the RFP scopes of work. If you'll remember, and a little bit of background for some of the newer counselors, we made a big effort to redo our RFP process in order to make sure that there is a little bit more. Council had the ability to participate in the RFP process. Once you get into the evaluation part, it kind of has to be a black box, but one of the things that we came up with is that the scope of work for each RFP would be presented to a committee, and then once the committee has made the recommendation, that item could be placed on the consent agenda so that if anybody had something they wanted to discuss about that RFP, they could, and otherwise it would just be a routine item that could then proceed with the RFP process. The second item has to do with the special events policy. The special events policy, one of the last lines in that policy says that if there are any considerations to be a city-supported event, that would go through Finance Committee. Part of the discussion that we had in drafting that policy was that then those requests would be sent from Finance Committee onto the consent agenda. And given that discussion, I wanted to put that into this resolution so that you as a body could have a discussion about whether or not that's something you wanted to continue with. If you'll remember, or to provide background, the special events policy broke down events into 3 separate categories. One is a city-sponsored event where the city is the one putting on the event. 2 is a city-supported event. And this is something that we've had come up with the signature events policy where that event receives contributions from the city. And the 3rd is a city-authorized event, basically meaning they want to put on an event, they've received the required permits, they've checked in with all the departments, they're good to go through that process. So that would apply to the number 2, that second level of events are event holders that would like additional direct funding. Those kinds of requests would then go to finance and then out through the consent agenda. The other change, and this is purely procedural, so of course as the attorney I was very excited to be able to spot this and make this change. The resolution says that there requires 2 counselors to pull an item off of the consent agenda. The governing body rules of order only require 1 counselor to pull an item off of the consent agenda. So the resolution as it's drafted changes it to be consistent with the governing body rules of order. With that, I feel like I've spoken a lot, so any questions you have, I'm happy to answer.
You have, but you are an attorney. Councilors, questions or comments? I have Councilor Best and then Councilor Foster. Councilor Best.
Okay. I'm really distressed that I'm not able to read these changes in my packet. Very, very distressed, because now you're asking me to make a decision on words that I heard go through my head in 2 seconds. And I didn't even get G because I was too busy looking for it, and it's not there. And our meeting was the 30th. So that just distresses me terribly. I did not get G. If you want to go back and repeat that again.
It was cut.
It was cut, so completely out.
So, and I agree, and I apologize, and that is my fault, and I will make sure that does not happen again.
Thank you.
G, let's see. G in the version that you have should be struck, and then F should read, and it's just to add a sentence at the end, so this is all original, extensions or renewals of existing contracts, leases, or agreements with no material changes in terms beyond regular price or rent increases. So it adds that second sentence, and I'll just read it one more time. Second clause, I'm sorry. With no material changes in terms beyond regular price or rent increases.
Okay. All 4 counselors were at the meeting?
There were 3 counselors.
And what was the decision? Was it 3-0?
It was 2-1. Councilor Sanchez voted against it.
Okay. Again, because I can't see it, can't read it, I'm having a big issue with it. If it was 3-0, I trust my fellow counselors, but now I've got a doubt in my mind. So, you know where I'm coming from. Okay. I'm lost.
Councilor Foster, you have the floor.
And that's why I had tried to speak first, but I was not comfortable with G. I think an ordinance is something that needs to come out and shouldn't just float through on a consent agenda, even if it's just advertising for it to be heard the next time. So I thought it needed to be heard audibly twice at least, and that's why I cut it in the meeting. And the extension on the F was just so that we wanted to make sure that there was no material changes in the lease. And if it was just a regular lease, fine. But we just wanted to be sure that nothing slipped by on a lease that, you know, and a big change. And so that's why we added those words. So other than that, we were comfortable with everything else. I don't know why I couldn't speak for Councilor Sanchez why he voted against it, but I did. Those were the reasons why I made the change on G, because I wasn't comfortable with it, and we wanted to make sure that on a lease that nothing major changed and it slipped by us. So that's why it was just it had to be regular leases. So, and that's why those changes were made. Other than that, it is as you see it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Payson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I have a concern with item I. And the concern that I have is it specifically talks about special events. And the special events policy that we passed was only for four events. And to me, it seems like there's a lot. I know it takes a lot of time to have the discussions in public, but if we're going to be transparent, then I think we need to have those items so the public can listen to them. I just don't feel comfortable to have so many items on the consent agenda, because that we don't get to discuss them in public other than committee. And as we all know, a lot of individuals do not show up to committees. And so I'm not comfortable with adding additional items to the consent agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. I have Councilor Roswell. Councilor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I first have a question for the city attorney. Just let me make sure I'm understanding correctly. So what we're doing here is we're basically bringing this resolution, amendment to resolution 2366 to bring it up to what we're actually already doing, or what is different from what we're actually doing. Can you help me with that? You answer your question?
So it is, all three items that are proposed are new items from what we are doing.
Okay.
So for example, and I'll kind of give you a little bit of the background of some of them.
Why don't you back up to your PowerPoint slide, if you don't mind? It might be helpful.
Let's switch microphones.
Councilor.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. The first one with the extensions of leases, if you have a lease from the Air Center, a lot of times we do a one-year lease. The term is for 1 year. Somebody wants to re-up, they re-up under the same terms. I will say that we have been adding, escalator clauses to the rent. So we would be sitting in a legal committee, you have an RIC lease that goes through, then we have a farm lease. It's the same situation where they have a specific term, have an escalator clause in there, there's no change to it, but that one has to go to full council because the RIC, they're two different agreements, and because that's a little bit of an arbitrary difference, given that we're standardizing a lot of those contracts and not intending to have the material changes like Councilor Foster said, that would be one that could be included.
Okay, so my confusion on that one was that because we do the RIC ones
right
on that.
Right. So and I think that speaks to the point of why that was included.
Okay, and the other ones?
So the RFP scope of work, that is one that we have not been doing. The policy reads it one way, but the resolution doesn't. And so this is just to match what we had envisioned in the policy. And then the third one, and I've actually got the special ed policy.
So there are RFPs, but we have some RFPs on this consent agenda today, but they weren't the scope of work portion of it.
So this, even today, right. So at the end of the RFP process, those awards go on the consent agenda. So the idea is that at the beginning, goes on the consent agenda unless there's questions, same thing, and then at the end of the process, it is on the consent agenda as we do it unless somebody has any questions. So again, to kind of make our process equal.
Okay.
And then the third one, and I'll just read the section that says in the, so this is section 16 of the special events policy. It says that an applicant requesting to be city supported shall make the request at the time of application and send to Finance Committee for recommendation and full City Council for approval. And so those are items where somebody is asking for additional support, could go to Finance, and then Finance Committee has the option then to send it to the consent agenda. And I believe that Finance Committee has heard some of those requests, and I don't know that one has been brought to council yet, but that might be one thing. Right.
We've been pretty tough on those, so thank you. Because I thought some of these things were on the consent agenda already, but now I understand the difference of what we're talking about here. One thing I did want to say, the consent agenda is a utility to speed up the process of the meetings, stuff like that. It should never be something that we use for as a political maneuvering piece. And certainly I believe that every councilor, and I think most councilors here have, we have the ability to pull something off a consent agenda. So I'm not super worried about that, because we're not, everything, if there's a councilor, I hope as councilors we're all looking at our consent agendas before we come to meetings, make sure there's nothing that we want to pull off. So in that regard, I hope that we never use the consent agenda as a political weapon, but rather as a tool to expedite our governing the city. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councilor Peterson.
Well, I have a lot of concerns on the weed and condemnation resolutions. I think we need to send this back to legal, in my opinion, and to look at it again. Thanks.
And Councilor Foster. Councilor, you have the floor.
We're only voted where the chip. Now my mic's not active.
Okay.
Go ahead, try it.
Is it on? It's on now? Okay. We're not changing anything that's already on there, which the A through E is already there. It's the F, G, H, and I that were there, but G's pulled. So it's F that we're voting on, the extensions, H and I. So weed and condemnations are automatically on there already. We pulled off the condemnations this time because of the one situation, but normally they're already on there. So it's just those three things that we're adding. So, thanks.
Okay. Councilors, any other comments or questions? All right, we're going to ask for a roll call vote on this one.
You don't have to do a roll call vote.
I understand that. We're going to ask for a roll call vote so there's no confusion. And if you're in favor of the resolution 1828, which is amending the items to be placed on consent agenda, amending, then you vote yes. If you're opposed to that amendment or opposed to resolution 1828, vote nay or no. So with that, Ms. Call, please call the roll.
Councilor Best?
Yes, with explanation.
Councilor Henderson?
Yes.
Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Councilor Foster?
Yes.
Councilor Oropesa?
No.
Councilor Robeck?
Yes.
Councilor Peterson?
No.
It's 5-2, the matter does not pass as there is not a majority of the governing body. Ms. Councilor Best, you have the floor.
Okay. I was going to vote no, but because we stood up and we explained it another 2 times, I got it. This makes it hard on us here to make our decisions. I trust my
counterparts in each meeting that they're in, whether it's infrastructure, legal, finance, wherever they are. I trust them to do their job, and I need that information so I can do my job. I would have voted a different direction if it hadn't been explained again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Next up is item number 23, Councilor Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt Resolution 1823. Resolution 23 is to add Fund Number 227, Workers' Compensation Fund, to the city's chart of accounts.
I have a motion by Councilor Henderson and a second by Councilor Best to approve Resolution 1823. Ms. Garcia.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Resolution 1823 is to add a fund number 227 for workers' compensation to the city's chart of accounts. This would be beginning fiscal year 2019. The city has several funds within the chart of accounts. These funds separate financial activity within the chart of accounts for general government purposes. The city has reviewed the city attorney has reviewed the resolution, and the finance committee did vote 4-0 to approve resolution number 1823. So basically what we want to do is we want to add a workman's compensation fund that would be funded through some of our major funds, the general fund, the street improvement fund, capital improvement fund, our airport fund, and our solid waste fund and water fund. So basically we pull money from all these accounts and we pay out workers' comp claims instead of charging them from department to department.
Okay. Thank you. Councilors, any questions or comments on Resolution 1823? If not, I will ask for a voice vote. A yes or I approves 1823, which establishes a fund number of 227 for workmen's compensation matters. A no or nay rejects Resolution 1823. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Thank you. Next up is item number 25. Councilor Henderson.
24? I'm sorry. 25. I thought you were talking about the resolution.
No.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt Resolution 1824. 1824 is amending the budget for the City of Roswell's FY June 30th, 2018 for $20,000 for the July 4th event.
I have a motion by Councilor Henderson and a second by Councilor Best to approve Resolution 1824. Ms. Garcia.
So this resolution 1824 would amend the budget for the City of Roswell for $20,000 for the July 4th event. We did budget $43,264 for this event in our final budget last year in 2018. This budget did not include deposits for entertainment, portable toilets, and tenting. The Finance Committee did recommend at their meeting 4-0 in favor of the resolution.
All right. Any questions or comments?
Answer any questions.
Councilor Orpesa.
Mr. Mayor, does this money coming out of general fund or is it coming out of lodger's tax?
No, this is coming out of general fund.
The reason is?
Basically, we just, I'm not sure. Where is, this is, I think, part of the, correct. Oh, I'm sorry, I do not. I lost it. It's part of our special events resolution that we passed. What resolution is it?
So the funding, the original funding for the 4th of July event, $43,000 was budgeted in the fire department budget, specific to fireworks. The additional funding was put into the Parks and Rec budget allocation line item for special events. Due to the signature resolution for the 4 special events, we were tasked to find money within those budget line items to pay for those additional funds that were not budgeted. So as part of that, we have to pull from reserve to pay for the 4th of July the down payments that are for this next fiscal year. You'll notice that for this one and for the item in the next agenda item as well.
So, the one that we did for the special events, we approved up to $200,000.
Up to $200,000, yes, and that's coming in your next fiscal year. But not all of it.
Because some of it is being paid in this fiscal year. So for example, the Cinco de Mayo event, we found money in this fiscal year's budget to help cover those costs. But there's still a shortfall because none of those events were budgeted. So we had to find money to pay for those. Within this year's budget, by finding that money, we're short for 4th of July.
Okay, I'm confused. Okay, thank you.
So what Juanita stated was, I think the Cinco de Mayo, we actually found funds within our existing budget to help them complete their event, and this is what we're doing the same for the 4th of July, is we're trying to help them complete their event. Even though it goes into the next fiscal year, there are deposits that are due now, this year, so we need to fund them so that the event may go on. I'm sorry, we didn't include it in the lodger's tax last year, so that's something we're looking at this budget year.
It's not a lodger's tax event, it's a community event because it's 4th of July.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions, councilors? If not, I will ask for a voice vote for Resolution 1824. This is a budget transfer of $20,000 under the FY18 budget to cover the 4th of July event. A yes or aye approves the $20,000 allocation. A no or nay rejects it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, passes unanimously. Councilor Best.
I have a quick question. Do we have an escape route this year where the city people are not going to complain on the roads? And advertise that enough that I assume Devin or Lewis would know that.
You mean traffic control?
Traffic control, because our citizens freak out when everybody leaves.
Right, and yes, ma'am, Councilor. So the plan that we have in place is under review right now. I don't anticipate a lot of changes to it. The plan we use is the same plan that we use for the hike and spike it as an emergency discharge if something bad happens out there. That's the plan for that, where we turn the lanes going west and east and converting what is normally a two-lane street or a two-way street into a one-way street. I think that's what throws them off, and we've struggled in the communication there in the past.
We shouldn't struggle now because we do have a lot of Facebook and maybe radio spots or something.
So I think also as this plan, the more years that we use it, the more it becomes accustomed to.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, thank you. Next item up is item number 25. Councilor 26, I apologize. And number 26, Councilor Henderson, again.
Thank you, Mayor. This is once again a resolution kind of solving our oversight or our lack of budgeting enough money to get the job done. I move to adopt resolution 1825, which is amending the budget for the city of Roswell, June 30th, 2018, for an additional $116,385 for IT department.
All right, I have a motion by Councilor Henderson and a second by Councilor Foster to approve Resolution 1825, dealing with a budget adjustment for FY 2018 in the amount of $116,385 for information technology. Ms. Garcia.
Yes, this is a budget amendment for our IT department. Council did approve a $543,000 budget for fiscal year 2018 final budget for the information technology department. The budget does not include full funding for the following items. So we are short right now with internet subscription fees of $53,726. Software maintenance fees, which are $40,464, and license fees for $22,195. The Finance Committee did recommend a 3-0 approval of the resolution at their meeting. And I stand for any questions.
Councilors, any questions or comments regarding the resolution 1825? Councilor Robach.
Thank you, Mayor. This was just a budgeting error, and we're not going to see this in the future, correct?
No, last year we had a very, very limited short time to get a budget out.
Sure.
And that was just a fluke, and we are looking at all that this year.
Okay, thank you.
So this should not happen again, no.
Okay, other questions or comments, Councilor? Okay, hearing none, I will ask for a voice vote. A yes or aye approves resolution 1825 and budget adjustment to the IT department in the amount of $116,385. A no or nay rejects resolution 1825. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, passes unanimously. Next up, item number 27, Councilor Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. I move for the adoption of Resolution 1826. This is amending our budget for the City of Roswell for the June 30th, 2018 in the amount of $19,800 for the signature event, the UFO Festival.
I have a motion by Councilor Henderson and a second by Councilor Best to approve Resolution 1826. Ms. Garcia.
Again, I am asking for some money from our reserve account for Resolution 1826. The council would approve Resolution 1817, which recognized signature events, and allocate funding for the following: Hike It and Spike It UFO Festival, Eastern New Mexico State Fair, and the newly organized joint venture of the Roswell Chamber of Commerce and the Hispano Chamber of Commerce for the Rise Over Roswell Cinco de Mayo celebration. The Finance Committee recommended 3-0 approval at their May 3rd, 2018 meeting. And this is what Juanita was talking about earlier, that this one is also going to be funded out of the general fund.
Councilors, any questions or comments regarding this item? Okay. Seeing none, I will call for a voice vote. A yes or aye approves Resolution 1826, which consists of a budget adjustment for FY 2018 in the amount of $19,800 for the signature event UFO Festival. A no or nay rejects Resolution 1826. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, passes unanimously. Next up is item number 28. Councilor Best.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the city fleet replacement plan.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilor Best and a second by Councilor Foster to approve the city fleet replacement plan. Mr. Renshaw, come on down.
Thank you. We've developed a fleet replacement plan for the entire city fleet. Prior to this, there was no plan that existed. The departments have independently made the determination on the appropriate replacement times that they've had. Throughout this, we've now set a, if we flip one, there was no standards in place, and little consideration was placed on if a unit could be used in another department. Little consideration was given to the right sizing and standardization of the fleet, and the city manager has reviewed this plan. We have been to the Public Safety Committee on April 18th. That was a 4-0 vote to pass on it, to send it to full council. Also, the Infrastructure Committee recommended 4-0 to send it to full council for their approval. Any questions?
All right, councilors, any questions or comments for Mr. Renshaw? Councilor Henderson.
Well, I know a lot of work went in this plan, and It's something that we've sorely needed for a number of years, and it's just, you know, one of those things that's hard to remember to drain the swamp when you're up to your ass in alligators. And it makes it difficult, you know, just trying to get the job done. So congratulations, Danny. We appreciate the good work here, and I think this will give us a good track to run on.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Best. Councilor, you have the floor.
Mr. Renshaw, you have been a long time waiting to get here. I have been here 6 years, and I came in with a fleet of 15 of my own out of the ranch, and I know what I saw when I came in and how desperately we needed your help. Kudos to you and thank you. And sitting on the infrastructure previously, you went through your presentation and how much we've saved, and if I could hug you, I would. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Roebuck.
I just want to add, agree with him, totally appreciate everything that you're doing and really like this direction as far as just great strategic getting in front of stuff. And I know that it's just really, really good. It makes me proud. I'm really proud what you're doing with that department. Thank you.
Okay. And then Councilor Moore. Oh, that wasn't a one vote? No, don't be. I'll tell you a story later about me at an auction one time. It's a true story. Anyone else, councilors? If not, I'll have a voice vote. A yes or aye approves the fleet maintenance, city fleet replacement plan. A no or nay rejects the plan. Once again, a yes or aye approves the city fleet replacement plan. A no or nay rejects it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Hearing none, passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Renshaw. There we go. Sorry about that. It's been a long day. All right. Next up is item number 29. Councilor Oropesa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move for approval of the scope of work for RFP 18007 reissuance city property sale of the Yucca Center.
I have a motion by Councilor Oropesa and a second by Councilor Moore. All right. If the two fingers mean something. All right. We're getting this done. We're getting a system working here. I have a second by Councilor Moore to approve the scope of work for RFP 18-007, city property sale of the Yucca Center. Mr. Nahar.
Hello, Mayor and Council. What we have tonight is reissuance of RFP 18-007. Per the current RFP policy, the scopes of work are to come to Council for review. For the newer councilors, we issued this out once before. It was rejected, and we brought it to council. In the March council, I believe your first council, you said to redo the language. We did redo the language. We put a little more meat in the callback. We're requiring it for them to do a walkthrough. If they're doing a demolition, they have to do it within the first year. That kind of language in your packet, you can see the red, they have it in color. It declared infrastructure and the vote was 3-0. And currently, if it passes tonight, we'll advertise May 20th and receive proposals on July 10th.
All right, questions, Councilor Roebuck and Councilor Foster. Actually, you were first, I apologize. For Foster, then Roebuck. You did indicate to me earlier. Councilor Foster, you have the floor.
As I've been going through the packet, I noticed the packet that we have, it says page 1 of 22. The next page I have 13 of 22. The next page I have 14 of 22. And those are the only 3 pages I have.
Those are the only ones that include the scopes of work. All the rest of it is your standard language of RFP and trying to save some trees and stuff. I didn't put the whole packet in there. Just the scopes.
I understand, but I'm saving a lot of here. But I hate voting on something that I only have 3 pages of 22 on.
And the rest of the pages are just your sandwich boilerplates, and That's why I didn't put it in there. You got the boilerplate and the schedule. That's not in there.
It's, like I said though, I
understand.
Voting on something.
I understand.
I'm only at 3 pages of 22, so.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Whitlock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to apologize for making you have to go through this whole process again. It's important, but I know you guys are ready to tear it down, and I appreciate you guys putting extra work. I know it's extra work on your staff to do this again, but I think it's important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions from councilors? All right, councilors, this will be a voice vote requiring a simple majority of those present and voting. Okay. A yes or aye approves the scope of work for RFP 18007, City Property Sale Rec Center, and no or nay rejects the scope of work for that RFP. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
I have Councilor Foster saying nay. Any others? I have a 6-1 vote. Does that confirm or conform with what you said? 6-1, and that does pass. So, thank you. And councilors, at this point, we still have a number of items to go. However, I would like to suggest that we do a recess for about 10 minutes and let staff and everyone take a break, and we will reconvene. I have right now, the time is 7:47. How about if we make it a 13-minute, come back at 8 o'clock? That work? All right, councilors, we're going to take a recess. We'll be back to meet at 8 o'clock. Build in. I think we should do recesses. Record reflect that the entire council that was here prior to the recess is back again. We are back in session. Item number 30, Councilor Pesa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move for approval of the scope of work for RFP 18-017 Professional Services Project Design Asbestos Water Line Replacement 1.
I have a motion by Councilor Pesa and a second by Councilor Peterson to approve scope of work for RFP 18-0017. Just one note before we go to Mr. Nahar. We will be considering this item and item number 32 on the original agenda next. There will be two separate actions, but they are, in fact, linked, and Mr. Nahar may, in fact, talk about both of them. Mr. Nahar.
Mayor, thank you again. Council, what you have presented before you now is to consider the scope of work for RFP-18-017 Professional Services for designing the new water line project, replacing the asbestos line. Right up front, Councilor Foster, all you see before you is the language on the scope of work. And I apologize that you don't get to see the full packet. Okay, on our aerial there, this project is to replace a 10-inch transite or asbestos cement line from the intersection of Atkinson, 4.2 miles east towards Tatum, to what we call the Roswell testing facility, the old saltwater treatment facility that they had back in the day. So hopefully you can picture that. We're going to solicit services for an engineer to design the plans so we can get this project out. As I discussed before, we have approximately 74 miles of transite water line. This project is the first one, and the reason this one is selected is due to the water quality samples that we took citywide, and this one has some higher values, so we need to adjust this one first. For the design services, what we're talking about is transferring some money from the current budget between water administration and maybe a little bit off of water for an estimated engineering design amount of $100,000. On the next item, item number 32 in your packet, it'd be for the construction of the project, and we're asking for $3 million. And the way we're going to fund it is, again, out of the current budget, is to put the Edgewood water lines project and a large diameter valve project on hold, and within those two projects come up with the $3 million because utility staff and I, we feel this is a priority that we need to get on right away. And I stand for any questions.
All right, councilors, we have two items that were presented. We will, however, act upon them independently. We need a motion from, we have a motion from Councilor Pesa and a second for the first one. That's all we're acting on is item number 30. We are not acting on item number 32 at this time. Item 30 is strictly the scope of work for the RFP 18-0017 professional services. Now, questions or comments regarding the scope of work for the RFP as presented? Councilor Foster, I detect.
Well, mine's not on the scope of work, but mine's on the actual line. And
well, let's go with the scope of work. You want to talk about the line, or you want to talk about the funding for the project next? Because this is the scope of work to do the engineering study.
Funding for it'd end up being the funding for the work, but this is a live line that's being used. That's an active line that's being used.
This is an active line, 10-inch transite asbestos cement. It's on the north side of 2nd Street, or US 380, and it runs all the way to the Roswell testing facility. We have a few city customers inside the city limit, but if you can picture it, you go about a couple of blocks and then you're in the county. But we roughly have 50 meters, and one of those meters is the one that feeds Bottomless Lake State Park. And their facilities out there for the domestic water.
And that's what I wanted to know. I mean, if it was active line and we had actual customers on this line. All right, thank you.
All right, are there questions or comments on the RFP scope of work? Seeing none, I'll call for a voice vote on the RFP scope of work only. And yes or I approves the RFP for professional services for project design of the asbestos water line replacement. A no or nay rejects the RFP. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Passes unanimously. We will continue on this matter now with item number 32. Councilor Orr, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move for approval of the appropriation and transfer of $3 million within water maintenance and transmission budget accounts, account fund 630-43 or 4354 to fund construction of asbestos water line replacement phase 1.
I have a motion by Councilor Orpesa and a second by Councilor Henderson to approve a $3 million transfer from the water maintenance and transmission budget accounts to fund the construction of the asbestos water line replacement phase 1. Anything additional, Mr. Nahar?
No, sir.
Okay. Stand for any questions or comments, Councilor? Councilor Peterson, you have the floor.
Thank you. Is the city crew going to be doing this job?
Councilor Peterson, what we're going to do on the RFPs to get it, we'll take RFPs on the engineering firm can design it, put out the plans, and we would put it out to bid. The $3 million would be to put it out to bid, so we'd have a contractor do it. Because one of the issues is, if we're going to remove the old asbestos, it has to be bagged and tagged, and we'd rather have a contractor do that, and then dispose of that. More likely it'll end up in the Mountain Air facility that has the waste permit for asbestos.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, Councilor, we're going to break with normal tradition. Councilor Robach, you may have the floor.
Can you just let me a little bit on the
microphone?
Sorry, Jonathan. Can you let me a little bit on the Edgewood phase 1 project? What is that that's being delayed?
Okay, the Edgewood project was the old Edgewood school. We're going to tie on and fix a 36-inch diameter valve there at the intersection of Cherry and Garden. And then we're going to go down about 4 blocks, replace that line, and then go off a couple other blocks and replace those lines. In Edgewood, we've had a number of breaks. So what we want to do is we broke it up into 2 phases, $1 million phases. And phase 1 would do $1 million worth of work. Phase 2 would do the second $1 million of work. Phase 3 if needed. But Edgewood was picked out as one of the priority ones just because of the number of the breaks. It has a little bit of asbestos cement, but a lot of it is the old cast iron that's just rusted out.
Okay, so it's a maintenance. That's what I was. And then how do we come up with the $3 million number?
A swag. I'm using $135 a foot. It's roughly 22,000 plus feet. A 10-inch line is not that big. We could build one maybe for $80 to $90, but I'm adding that extra because we've got to dispose of the asbestos. And then I really don't know what other stuff we're going to have to relocate as we go through there. Because I'm not too familiar with 380 because it's out of where I drive through all the time and see. But it's just, it's a swag.
Thank you.
And I came up with it in a hurry.
I'm sorry.
Councilor Foster, you have the floor.
And with 380 and setbacks, dealing with the DOT, do we know, I mean, that's my problem. Where the line is, are we going to have to move it anyway, eventually?
We're probably gonna have to, we want to stay as close as we can so we can, because we have, by my count, 50 meters on the line. So as we go through, it's easier to kind of build one off to the side and then tie onto it. The reason I want to pull out the old line is, even if we leave it there, we still have our liability, and I'd rather remove the city's liability the first time we're out there. We got a contractor, let's take care of it right now.
All right, thank you. Okay. Other questions or comments, councilors? Okay. As I started to say earlier, I'm going to break with normal tradition. I have serious reservations. Earlier this afternoon, I met with Mr. Nahar and Mr. Nell. This is my problem with this project. We are taking $3 million away from our residents to spend on a project that is almost entirely outside of our city limits. I understand we have customers out there. I understand we are serving the bottomless lakes. We do not know, or at least I have not been told, why this line was built in the first place. I don't know who paid for it. I find it hard to conceive that the city of Roswell would have placed 4 miles of line outside the city limits. At the time, the water treatment or the Department of Interior operated that test plant out there to the east of town. And although we do not know, I have my own speculations as to who was responsible for this. We are in fact turning our back on residents in the Edgewood Elementary area. That troubles me greatly. I would like to see alternatives to spending this money and delaying these projects. If this means we have to truck water, I would rather do that than stop caring for our own residents. However, as we all know, I do not have a vote. I have Councilor Best. Councilor, you have the floor.
Louis, would it be wise to go back and investigate what he's speaking? Because at this point, that kind of changed my mind a little bit.
Well, we started getting hits in asbestos, and our authorities went and met with the New Mexico Drinking Water Authorities, New Mexico ED, and they were glad that we're doing sampling. They were glad that we're doing flushing to keep the levels at an acceptable level, and they were glad that we had a plan, which was start replacing this project. Number one, respectfully, I disagree with the mayor. I think we are a water system operator. It just so happened, luck of the draw, good luck, bad luck, whatever you want to call it, this section is the worst. The first one has to come up with asbestos. If you're familiar with water pressure, we had water pressure problems last week. Typically the water pressures around town are about 50 or 60. Water pressures at the end of this line are at 120. We feel that the high pressure, and it's all downhill towards the river, the high pressure is probably the biggest culprit. Along the earliest record we have is 1959. The military came to us wanting to tie onto that line there at the dead end to take a cast iron line to the Atlas missile site, which was done in 1961. So the earliest record that we can tell is the city was already an operator in 1959 of that line. How we got it, I don't know.
Have we approached the county, since it's out in the county, if they'll play ball with us?
It's our line. We don't share the profit with them. I mean, from my point of view, we have customers, we have a problem, we have to deal with it.
All right, Councilor Foster, you have the floor.
Are there other, can inline filters help with mitigating asbestos?
Inline filters, maybe. What we're doing now, we're flushing it, but you still have the problem. We're trying to fix the problem. And one of the things we talked about was maybe lining it, but to line it, it's still going to cost you money to bring in a specialty firm to line it. When if we bid it out to replace, I'll get more contractors to bid on it, because digging and replacing the line doesn't require the specialty that a lining company would require?
I know, and we've been talking about lining for years because we had a firm in looking at it. I know back in 2012, and nothing came of it. But I'm just thinking that if there was a way of mitigating the asbestos short term, I just know how many water line breaks we've had in the last 2 weeks. And Edgewood area is definitely in need of those replacements. And what I'm thinking is what's going to happen is if we allocate the $3 million and we go to fix it, then we have emergency water line breaks that we're going to have to pay for and fix anyway. So we're going to still be spending the $3 million fixing the Edgewood lines, and we're going to have a loss.
We still want to fix the Edgewood lines. We're still requesting for phase 2 asbestos in the fiscal year 2019. So we still have those monies to do that. I understand what y'all are saying because it's out in the county and the county residents, but we're an operator, we hold a liability. There's a problem. I would not like to have the state tell us that we have to fix it, and then you either fix it or you shut it down, and how would that do?
I understand that. What would be the cost of lining it? Do we have?
It's about the same. And the reason is right now there's limited. But when I put the RFP, I mean, we're going to consider all the alternatives, including if it's a budget thing, we have to leave the old one there for a little bit, we'll leave it there. But I'm of the opinion that we have to just fix the problem, take the bitter pill, take the medicine, and go on. We are an operator. We aren't responsible for the water quality. That's what people rely on us to do, and we want to take care of that problem.
And okay, what was the quote of how much per foot did you say it was?
I'm estimating $135 a foot.
Because I mean, 2012 was a few years back, so I can't remember exactly the quote, but running the lining seemed to be a lot cheaper than that.
And definitely once I have an engineer on board, before we start design, we can ask those questions.
All right, thanks.
All right, other questions or comments, Councilor Ortega?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, the residents in Edgewood, and I will respectfully disagree with you as well.
Okay.
Because I don't think that we are doing a disservice to those individuals in that area, even though that area is my area. But the way I see it is I don't want to have a Flint, Michigan situation in our hands. If that line busts or whatever, and asbestos comes out, and you know those kind of things that create problems for the community, I would rather see us get the money, invest in it, get it done, get it out of the way, and be done with it. You know, the lining and so forth. It doesn't make sense to me, because you're going to come in and you're going to have to dig the line anyway, and so why go through digging more than once if something happens? You know, whether we were at fault or whatever for having that line out there, I guess at this point it really doesn't matter. The fact is that we own the line. And we owe those individuals out there, whether they are city or Roswell residents or county residents, but we are providing the service to them. And so I think we owe them the service that they are paying for. And so I'm of the opinion that we need to go ahead and take care of it and be done with it. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Foster.
I understand some lining you do have to dig, but what I'm talking about, the Teflon coating lining, where they shoot the pig and they shoot and where they are.
And then certainly we're going to look at those alternatives once we start design, because I'm going to have a $3 million budget, and I have to look at that. I say reconstruction, I mean, if you line it, you still leave it there, and there is an advantage with 50 customers. There won't be as many taps that you have to deal with, and you can have some longer runs, or we might be able to do from the east end of it is longer stretches that won't have customers that you can line it. But certainly the lining option will be considered during design.
Well, and when you're looking at $3 million and 50 customers, that's like $60,000 a customer. You can almost dig a well for each one of them or at least share wells and save money for them. So,
but I think we're getting on dangerous ground now.
Well, I'm just looking at, and I know, I mean, when you're looking at spending $3 million and you're affecting 50 meters, you are spending $60,000 per person, per meter. So, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Roebuck and then Councilor Henderson. Councilor Roebuck, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. So to help me understand, roughly how much revenue does these 50 customers generate? If you can give me a rough estimate.
I couldn't tell you. Okay. I know we have probably a few residential.
Sure.
And then probably one of our biggest customers is Byron State Park, because all that water also goes out to their whatever domestic use that they have for their drinking, their RV parks, and all that they use over there.
Okay. And then as far as the process on this, the RFP, and then you select the RFPs that get an engineer to.
And we select an engineer. Once the engineer is selected, we design it, and then we put it out to bid.
Can it be where does the funding come from that part of the engineering process?
The engineering process is coming from water administration.
And roughly how much?
$100,000. That was item number 30.
Thank you.
Quickly before you go on, Henderson and Best, I want to share the timeline on this whole project that you shared with me earlier.
Okay, so this is open RFP July 10th, received July 10th. I would hope to have it designed by December and bid in January, have the project completed into 2019.
When? Which part? 2019. When do you think it'll be, what month in 2019?
I would hope to be done hopefully in September, if I can, 9 months to build.
Okay.
9 months to build, depending on bids and that kind of stuff.
Thank you. I apologize, Councilor Henderson. I thought that was important for us to get on. You have the floor, Councilor, and Councilor Best.
Thank you, Mayor. I certainly support the proposal to go ahead and replace the line. I think that we, even though the numbers might not make sense, I think we have an obligation, and I think we could have some kind of a liability to the city, and I think that we know what the problem is. We know we have a plan to fix it. I think that it's important that we support bottomless lakes. That's a big tourist benefit to our community. So I'm in favor of the project.
All right, I have Councilor Best, and then exhaust my list. Councilor Best.
I also agree with Councilor Henderson. But I also want to know, can we go find a grant? Because that is a state park, and we are watering them. So let's go see if maybe somebody else will play in our playpen, because this is an extravagant amount when we could be spending it over there on, you know, Ucana or something. So let's go find somebody that'll help us out, maybe 80-20, them 80.
Well, one of the things I want to do is, and with this budget discussion, I have a current loan process I'm going to replace the REAC 2 new towers. I do want to look, because again, it's 74 miles of asbestos cement line. Okay, now it has 69.8 miles left. So I do want to go out and research what kind of funding is out there, what kind of grants are there to update the old asbestos lines. I agree with you. This one's come up quick. I haven't found any money. I'm trying to get the REAC towers through DFA, and that's where we're at. But we still have time between now and bidding it out at the end of the year to do some homework, and I understand, and I'll do my best.
What have you been doing? I mean, come on.
I just DJ for the
Okay.
I have Councilor Roebuck, and I exhaust my list.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It seems to me that, and I appreciate all you're doing, it seems to me that we can move forward with the RFP process, and we could delay this vote for this $3 million. It's possibly, we find more funding potentially, but it would not delay the process at this point. And I'm going to make a motion to table this, what are we looking at here?
$3 million.
I know, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the name of the, item number 32.
Yeah.
Regular item 32.
Thank you. Move to table regular item 32 until the RFP process is complete.
Okay, I have a motion to table. Do I have a second? I have a second from Councilor Foster. The table motion is not a debatable motion, councilors. I will call for a roll call vote. A roll call vote will involve a yes or aye tabling the appropriation and transfer of $3 million within the water maintenance and transmission budget accounts. A no or nay does not table. Ms. Call, are you ready to call the roll? All right, call the roll.
Councilor Best?
No.
Councilor Henderson?
No.
Councilor Moore?
No.
Councilor Foster?
Yes.
Councilor Arpesa?
No.
Councilor Roebuck?
Yes.
Councilor Peterson?
No.
The motion to table fails. We are back on the original motion. Any further discussion or debate on this proposed reallocation of funding? Okay, seeing none, I will say this, Mr. Deb, I'm a little concerned that we don't have alternatives to taking money out of other projects in the city. I don't think the idea of offering to drill wells for our customers is trivial. This is also, if I'm not mistaken, in the area of Brenda Water Co-op. We should see about turning this matter over to that co-op rather than taking this burden. Because, as was noted, we had 4 main line water breaks within a 30-hour period approximately 8 days ago. And we have serious issues to be within the city, and we are responsible to the residents of this city. And I feel strongly about this. I think we need to be good stewards of our residents. And if there's no other questions, I will call for a vote on this. A yes or aye approves the transfer of $3 million within the water maintenance and transmission budget to final construction of asbestos water line replacement phase 1. A no or nay rejects that. Ms. Call, please call the roll.
Councilor Best?
Yes, with explanation.
Councilor Henderson?
Yes.
Councilor Moore?
No.
Councilor Foster?
No.
Councilor Arpesa?
Yes.
Councilor Roebuck?
No.
Councilor Peterson?
Yes.
Passes.
4-3. All right, Councilor Best, you have the floor.
For my explanation is, I voted yes because I think it needs to be done, because like Steve said, Bottoms Lakes is part of our tourism trap here. We do need to find alternative money somewhere else, because the state is the park, even though they come and hang out in our building or our hotels and stuff. So yes, but we need to find alternative funding other than that. Thank you.
All right, Councilor, we're going to item number 31 on the original list. Councilor Orpesa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move for the approval of the memorandum of agreement between New Mexico Finance Authority, New Mexico Historic Preservation Division, and the City of Roswell concerning RIAC water tower demolition.
I have a motion by Councilor Orpesa and a second by Councilor Peterson to approve a memorandum of agreement between New Mexico Finance Authority, New Mexico Historic Preservation Division, and the City of Roswell concerning the RIAC water tower demolition. Mr. Nahar.
Mayor, Council, okay. What you see on the picture is the old water tower, and I'm going to keep this very short and brief. You know, we're trying to replace it. During my process of trying to get the loan, they deemed that this is a historic facility, so I still have to tear it down to build a new one, because we don't want it to stay up there, rot and blow away with the winds. So the process that you see in front of you is what we have to do to archive the old tower, and then they'll let me tear it down. So the memorandum of agreement is basically stating that yes, we'll take pictures, yes, we'll provide mylars of the old plans that we have available, and keep this in memorial forever. And I stand for any questions.
All right, councilors, any questions or comments? Oh, you skipped over a slide. Let me go back to that one. You had all kinds of important stuff.
That's kind of what I did. The only thing I haven't covered is infrastructure, voted unanimously 3-0 on April 23rd.
Okay. All right, councilors, any questions or comments regarding this MOA? Councilor Henderson, you have the floor.
In reference to the demolition of this tower, do we still have leased space on the tower for communication?
We still have lease space on the tower, and Bill Morris planner, they have notified our customers that there may be some time where they will not have that service. Well, they'll have it available the whole time, because we won't tear down the old one until the new one's up. And then part of the design is that the tower next to this facility will have what we call an antenna corral, so that they can just transfer their devices over. With the second site, will not have any devices per FAA.
Right, other questions or comments, councilors? Councilor Henderson, do you help construct this tower?
Yes, sir.
I thought so. Thank you. On that note, I'll have a voice vote. A yes or aye approves the memorandum of agreement to memorandum of agreement as stated. A no or nay rejects it. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Hearing none, passes unanimously. Next up is item number 33, Councilor Orpesa.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, I move for this council to consider approving a proposed final plat to subdivide a lot in Mesa Park Addition Number 1 into 5 residential lots to be known as the Harding and Carver subdivision, and the legal description, subdivision Mesa Park 1 block 6 lot, or 6 lots, 16 less, West 30, Book 753, page 665, property address 2400 Carver Drive.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilor Orpesa and a second by Councilor Henderson to approve a proposed final plat to subdivide a lot in Mesa Park Addition. Mr. Morris.
Good evening. The subject property is 1.35 acres in size. It's located at the intersection of Harding Drive and Carver on the south side there. It is zoned R1 and was previously used as the Mason Park or swimming pool. The proposal is to take that property and basically subdivide it into 5 pieces as shown here for use as residential, single-family residential, with all properties being at least 10,000 square feet in size. This is the actual plat that's being proposed. That's what it looks like. Here's a picture of the old Mesa pool, which had been closed for a number of years. This has since been removed. The entire site is basically cleared and looks considerably better than this at this point. This is a demonstration project. There was some concerns that these lots, because of their strange, and the lot lines are a little different because of the shape of the parent parcel, but this shows that all the properties can accommodate significantly sized homes on those parcels. And so in summary, this final plat is consistent with the infill policies as outlined in the city's comprehensive master plan. And the intent here is not to have properties just being developed on the outside edges of the city, but actually to go back into the city, into the core, and through adaptive reuse, take parcels and then develop them for other types of use, in this case, needed single-family residential homes. It meets all of the zoning code standards for the R1 district. Minimum lot size of the R1 is 6,000 square feet, and as I stated, all these parcels are at least 10,000 square feet in size. It meets subdivision code standards for subdivisions. Planning, zoning, and engineering staff all recommended approval of this plat. Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item on April 24th and recommended adoption by a vote of 6-0. There were 6 local residents that voiced opposition to that particular meeting, and they have since also turned in some protest letters. One of the primary concerns that was voiced was it was just too much density. There were concerns about traffic and noise. And so what we did was look at the following aerial to show the compatibility of the proposed parcels with those adjacent properties. And what you see here is the proposed Mesa Park plat, and around the edge you'll see numbers. In each of one of those parcels, the square footage of the lot is indicated on the top, and the year that the home was built is on the bottom. And you can see the predominant characteristic is that those properties are 9,000 square feet, thereabouts. There are some newer ones that are a little bit larger, but predominantly this is an older community, and the parcels that are being proposed here for development, we feel would be beneficial to the health of this particular area by interjecting 5 new homes, kind of restarting this area. And so we think it's a valuable asset overall. We see this as a positive and compatible residential use for this particular location. And I stand for questions. We also have the applicant here if there's any.
All right, before we go forward, council, we have 2 individuals that have signed up to speak on this, but at this point, Mr. Holloman to share a couple key points with the council on where we can go with this matter. Mr. Holloman, if you would please, so kind.
So this is we haven't done a final plat in a long time. What our process sets out is that the planning and zoning is the commission that has the designated authority to review these. Under statute, that has to be finalized within 35 days. So planning and zoning makes that determination and holds the public hearing, then it comes up to city council for final approval. At this point, it's city council's job. You're voting on planning and zoning's recommendation, so it's to approve or reject planning and zoning's recommendation. And given the statute, again, there is a time limit that is attached to this, unless that is waived by the applicant. So,
okay. Questions? On this point, councilors, we have 2 individuals again who signed up, Mr. Todd Wagner and Bill Dennis. Mr. Wagner, if you'll come forward, state your name, address. You will have 3 minutes to speak on this matter.
My name is Todd Wagner. I'm the engineer and surveyor on this project. My address is 1410 North Missouri. I've been talking to developers, builders about this site for probably 10 or 15 years. And there's been 2 or 3 that have actually tried to do something with it. The last guy was Helms, and he came in and partially took down the buildings and removed nothing, leaving it. The picture that you saw was beautiful compared to what it looked like before Mr. Dennis got hold of it. And in the last 35, 40 days, he's removed all of that. There is no more evidence of the pool, no more evidence of the buildings. The pool's gone, it's backfilled completely. It's essentially ready to build on. And this lot configuration is what you would see in the same size potential buildings, and the size is between 1,700 and 2,000 square feet. And every one of these buildings is that size. And that is the size of the neighborhood. It's the size that has been built in that area. And as a matter of fact, across the street on the one that was built in 2012 is the last one built in that whole neighborhood. So there's going to be 5 new homes that are going to be just beautiful new homes and revitalize that area. It's a good area, and that's why I think that they will build in there pretty quick, and I think it's good. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Mr. Morris, can you bring back the previous slide? Councilor Best would like to see that.
With the red.
Yeah, right there. Okay. Okay, councilors. At this point, let's go with Mr. Dennis. Mr. Dennis, you want to come forward, the same thing, state your name, address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Bill Dennis, 3303 Kessler Place. I decided to develop this property because I had actually been approached by other builders that wanted to do it, but they basically just couldn't afford the cost of the demo and the cleanup and everything. I've got a considerable amount of money invested in that demo and cleanup. As you can see the dark spot on that pool up there, that's water sitting in that old pool that was 11 feet deep right there. It was not only an eyesore, but it was also a danger to the community. It did have a chain link fence around it, but there were gaps in there that a 200-pound man could squeeze through no problem at all, so a child could easily have fallen in there. So basically I took it on, and we did have some objections from some of the neighbors, but before they objected, they all thanked me for cleaning it up. Well, I didn't clean it up because it was ugly. I cleaned it up because I felt like it was a good investment, and by splitting it into 5 lots, I can get a return on my investment, and I think it'll be a good addition to the neighborhood. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. I have Councilor Best and Councilor Foster and Councilor Roebuck.
Okay. Mr. Morris, each one of these lots is measured equally, as you said, and they're within 10,000?
No, actually, they're all over 10,000 square feet.
Okay, so they're matching the 10.8, the 924, so they're average to the neighborhood.
Actually, these are compatible lots, and if you were to reduce the density, you'd actually make lots that were much bigger and not compatible with what you see around it.
Okay. I see nothing wrong with it personally. I think it's awesome because this is what Roswell needs, is to start building enter and get the taxes back on the roll and start making our neighborhoods new and fresh. So I think this is absolutely wonderful. So thank you.
All right, I have Councilor Foster and Councilor Roebuck. Councilor Foster, you have the floor.
Well, and my statement is I just wanted to thank Mr. Dennis because these are the kids that I serve. I teach at the local elementary, and my kids live all around this area, and I could have just seen one of them getting hurt, and I like the fact that they are split, and we were saying, you said, and Mr. Morris, you said 6,000 is our minimum?
In the R1 zoning district, yes.
And I look down here on Gale and I see a 7,000, and so, I mean, I don't know how you could have done it, but I mean, looking at the numbers, possibly could have squeezed a sixth one. I don't know if physically there could have been a sixth one on it, but but I do see the 5, and I think that it is adequate for the area, and I like it. So thanks.
All right. I have Council Roebuck, and I exhaust my list. Council Roebuck.
Just for a point of clarification, so on the site data it says 42,000 square feet, but you're saying that there's 5 lots that are over 10,000. Is this site data inaccurate?
Where did you see that?
I'm looking at the page 105, staff summary for case.
Yes, that was actually an accurate number.
Okay, so what is the?
1.35 is the accurate size.
1.35 acres. Okay. Which is how many square feet, do you know, top of your head?
1.35 times 43560.
Okay. Okay. So just so I completely understand, none of these lots are under 10,000 feet?
No, sir.
Okay. Because I was doing the math and it wasn't working out, so thank you.
One of them actually is 13,500. So one of those is 13,500.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions or comments, councilors? Councilor Peterson.
Well, I just want to say thank you. We need more infill in South Roswell especially. And I think 5 lots here, I think it matches the neighborhood real good. And I know there's concerns with traffic and stuff like that. But I think, you know, it looks like they'll be able to go off on either side to go to Gale Street. So that should help the traffic. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Council. Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter? If not, I'll call for a voice vote. A voice vote will approve the proposed final plat to subdivide a lot in the Mesa Park addition. A no or nay rejects the final plat. Excuse me. A yes approves the final plat, a no rejects the final plat. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, passes unanimously. Next item up is item 34, and that's going to be whom, Ms. Call? No, for my council. Because Mrs. Councilor Sanchez is not present. All right, Councilor Roebuck. Thank you, sir. Councilor Roebuck, item number 34. Microphone.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the council review and consider approval of recreation program cost recovery guide.
I have a motion by Councilor Roebuck and a second by Councilor Foster to approve the recreation program cost recovery guideline after review. Ms. Gilworth.
Good evening. This item is similar to one you've seen recently for the planetarium. I have just one slide with large font. But the cost recovery for us, I'm sure you're aware, is really kind of the level of service or the level of funding that should support our services from user fees. So how much money do we want city funds to support something versus how much of that do we want user fees that are collected for that particular service to support the service. Of course, that can range from 0, which means all city funding is supporting the service, to 100, in which case no city funding is supporting the service. So we're working through each kind of area to develop this guideline. And again, it's a guideline, not a policy. No one will get terminated if they don't meet it. It's really that goal setting for us and to give us guidance from the council in terms of what the expectations are so that we can make sure that we're doing the things and building our fee schedules accordingly to what the council expects. So you've got the policy, or it's not policy, the guideline in your packet, and I'll just go through some of the highlights. So the overall guideline, it really provides structure to how we're going to develop our fees that we charge for our services in recreation programming. but it also allows flexibility within certain parameters for the staff. So if we come up with a new program, we have the ability to mash that in with our fee schedule at the time and deliver the service in a quick fashion. And then come back the next year through our fee schedule review and ensure that those fees are meeting the mark with the council. The target for this guideline is 30 at a minimum to 40%. That was based on kind of an industry standard nationally. The NRPA recommends, or the average across the nation is about 29%. And then the document reviews the kind of the guiding principles and the thought process about what is evaluated with each program and how it's worked into our cost recovery and where it should fall on the fee schedule. Of course, with this visitation is key. We need to have visitors there to be able to collect the user fees that we want to charge. And of course, the more visitation we get, the better that becomes for us. Our current cost recovery in recreation is about 10%, and that's down from prior years. That's due in part to some of our facilities closing, as you're well aware. But we are working on developing enhanced programming in preparation for not only the new facility, but just to upgrade our entire recreation department and all that we do there. General Services did review this at their last meeting and voted 4-0 to approve it.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Questions, councilors? Question, comments? Councilor Best.
This is just a cost recovery. This isn't, were we going to go out to bid for helpers or a company to come in and help us? Am I a little lost here? Or am I like way out in left field?
Are you talking about the RFP for the pool?
For the whole Chamaka?
So this is a kind of a separate item. The RFP for the pool is actually on the consent agenda for this evening. So you approve that, and so we go forward with negotiations for that. So this is not part of that. This is just setting the overall expectation for the entire recreation division, which would include the new facility, but also, of course, our adult center and the activities that we do through there as well. So this is just another tool that we're adding as we prepare for the opening of the facility, but also just to kind of get recreation on the path that the council is looking for.
Okay. I was thinking a different direction.
Councilors, are there questions or comments? Councilor Ortega.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does this include the other things other than the recreation and the aquatic center? Does it include programs?
This is for recreation programming, so whether we be doing it in a park or whether we're doing it at the new rec center, or whether we're doing it at our current rec center, it would cover all of our recreation programming.
Does the golf course fall under this as well?
No, it would not. That's a separate department. But if the recreation department did do something at the golf course, it would incorporate that.
So, and I guess I would be correct to assume that this doesn't include the zoo as well.
That's correct. And we do plan to develop very similar items for the zoo and as well as cemetery. And so we're kind of bringing those things up to come through committee in the near future.
You know, I'm not opposed to it. The thing that worries me is the pushback that we may get from the community, especially when the information out there is that we are spending, I don't know, $300,000, $400,000 to subsidize the golf course, and I'm not sure what the recovery percentage is there, but you have, especially when you're talking about kids programs and trying to recover a lot, and some of them are not even able to pay for the service. I be honest with you, I haven't read the whole thing, so I'm just going to ask, is there a provision in here that would allow some kind of waiver for children that are not able to pay for, say, whatever approvals are offered.
So there is a section, it's the last section of the document, it's entitled Fee Setting Method. And so there's a various number of things in there, but you can see number 4. It says reduced fees may be established for youth, senior, and specialty categories of users. So it does allow for that. So there's, like I said, a number of things in there. So, but in that case, it does allow for us to build that in, and that would be included with the guideline if it's approved tonight. Of course, the next phase of this would be going forth to approve the fee schedule, and so we can ensure that the fee schedules, again, are in line with what the expectations are here. And accordingly, if the desire is to charge less for certain areas, then we can make sure that that's worked in.
And who's going to be making those decisions as to who gets a waiver or gets charged less than?
The fee schedule will be created by staff, but it would go through council for review and approval.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions or comments, councilors? Seeing none, I will ask for a voice vote. A yes or aye approves the recreation programming cost recovery guideline. A no or nay rejects the guideline. Again, an aye or a approves the guideline, and no rejects it. All those in favor of the guideline signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, passes unanimously. Next up is item number 37, Councilor Orpesa. I would remind everyone that item 36 was already acted upon, and item 35 was pulled from the agenda. Councilor Orpesa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion to approve, I'm sorry, read the wrong one. I make a motion that the council go into closed session pursuant to NMSA 1978, section 10-15-1H2 to discuss limited personnel matters relating to the municipal judge.
All right, I have a motion by Councilor Orpesa and a second by Councilor Henderson to go into closed session. Any question or comment? This is a roll call vote. Ms. Call, are you ready? Okay, a yes or aye approves going into closed session, and no or nay rejects it. Ms. Call, please call the roll.
Councilor Best? Yes. Councilor Henderson?
Yes.
Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Councilor Foster?
Yes.
Councilor Orpesa?
Yes.
Councilor Rodak?
Yes.
And Councilor Peterson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, councilors, I have 8:57 by my watch. We will recess the regular session. We will reconvene in closed session in 3 minutes at 9 o'clock in our room there. Everyone will be back hopefully shortly.